In the world of music, only a few have truly changed history, and Michael Jackson is the most famous among them. He was called the King of Pop, but behind this, his life was more than just songs, dances, and applause. From his small house in Gary, Indiana, he rose to become one of the most famous artists in the world. He changed the way music was made, and he was also the reason why music videos started to become like movies. But even so, his death became controversial, and many speculations came out. Some even say that Michael didn't really die and that his death was faked. Is this true? In this video, we will examine everything about Michael Jackson. But before we start, don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel. This is a big help for us content creators. Thank you very much, and now let's get started. Family hardships and his rise to stardom. In a small two-bedroom house in Gary, Indiana, this is where the story began of a boy who would change the world of music. Born as the 8th of 10 siblings, Michael Jackson grew up in a family full of dreams but always lacking in comfort. Their father, Joe Jackson, was a strict and demanding man with high standards. For him, there was no room for mistakes. Sometimes, when his children's performances weren't perfect, the belt would touch their skin as a reminder that they always had to give their best. In Michael's interviews, he admitted that even as a child, he learned to fear his father's belt, a fear that left a mark on his personality. But behind the punishments, Joe also saw Michael's extraordinary talent. And with every song and dance of his son, it was as if he saw hope that the family could rise out of poverty. Catherine, Michael's mother, was the opposite of her husband. She was gentle, caring, and the quiet pillar of their home. She was the first to see something special in young Michael. Even though she was tired from working at Sears, she never let the opportunity slip by for her child to develop his talent. But before their success could truly take off, the first tragedy struck. Brandon, Marlon's twin and the youngest child, died. The family's pain from loss became a wound, but they worked harder instead of weakening. By 1965, Michael was the lead singer of the group that would become the Jackson 5. At just 5 years old, his unique voice and energy on stage were already showing. In every local talent show, the crowd would erupt in cheers whenever he sang, and when he danced, he was a child who seemed born for the spotlight. It was in 1967 when they got their biggest break, winning the amateur night at the Apollo Theater in Harlem. From there, they caught the attention of Motown Records, one of the most well-known record labels at that time. With the help of Diana Ross, they signed a contract in 1969. Their first single, I Want You Back, immediately exploded on the radio and climbed to #1 on the Billboard Hot 100. At the age of 11, Michael became the center of the group. His voice, moves, and charisma immediately proved that he was the star behind the Jackson 5. The songs ABC, The Love You Save, and I'll Be There followed. These songs solidified the group's name as one of the most famous in the 70s. But behind the smiles and the screams of fans, Michael gradually began to feel tired and wanted to follow his own path. As he grew older, the dream of going solo began to form in his mind, not just because of ambition, but because of the desire to show who he truly is as an artist. The hardships of his youth, the fear, discipline, and challenges, all of those became the fuel for his determination. And from a small house in Indiana began the journey of the boy who would introduce himself to the world as the King of Pop. A boy who not only sang but changed the course of music forever. From studio sessions to global stardom at the age of 13, Michael Jackson began the path that would change the entire music industry. He was no longer just a member of the Jackson 5. He was now a solo artist ready to make a name for himself. His first single, Got to Be There, released in 1971, showcased a unique emotion and vocal skill rarely heard from a child. But Michael's true rise came a few years afterward with the 1979 album Off the Wall and legendary producer Quincy Jones, they created a groundbreaking mix of pop, soul, funk, and disco that swept the world. The song, Don't Stop Till You Get Enough, was the first to become popular, an upbeat track that immediately brought Michael his very first Grammy Award. But more than the award, this album showed who Michael really was, an artist with his own direction and unafraid to experiment. Off the Wall was not only successful, it sold over 20 million copies worldwide. Despite his success, he still wasn't satisfied. In Michael's mind, he could still do something bigger, a masterpiece that would change the history of music. And in 1982, he released the album Thriller. Nothing could compare to it. Thriller became the best-selling album in history, with an estimated 66 million copies sold worldwide. But its impact exploded not only in music, but also in visual storytelling. In the music videos for Billie Jean Beat It, and especially Thriller itself, Michael turned the music video into an art form. The Thriller video, which lasted 14 minutes and was directed by John Landis, showed Michael as a werewolf and a zombie, a cinematic masterpiece that completely changed everything. The way people looked at music videos changed, as Thriller's success was extraordinary, staying at #1 on the Billboard 200 chart for 37 weeks. It had 7 top 10 singles, a record that's hard to match. And at the 1984 Grammy Awards, Michael won 8 awards, including Album of the Year, a record-breaking moment in music history. Michael didn't just dominate in the studio, but also on stage. His moonwalk, first showcased at the Motown 25 The Anniversary Special in 1983, instantly became a symbol of his excellence. With every move, every slide of his foot, it was like magic. Even his victory tour with his brothers in 1984 became one of the biggest concerts of the decade. Crowded, energetic, legendary. At that moment, he was more than a singer or dancer. He became the standard himself. Michael Jackson wasn't just making music. He was the reason the sound, look, and feel of pop culture transformed. And with every beat of Thriller, the era of the true king of pop began. Hit songs and groundbreaking deals. As Michael Jackson's career continued to soar to the peak of success, it became clear that he was not just a performer, but also a shrewd businessman. He knew how to use his talent not just for music, but also for making smart business decisions. In 1985, he made a move that shocked the entire industry. Michael bought the publishing rights to the Beatles' songs for $47.5 million. He even outbid Paul McCartney himself. Through this deal, he owned some of the most prized songs in music history like Yesterday, Let It Be, and Hey Jude. This collection brought him millions of dollars every year, and its value continues to increase over time. But his quick moves didn't end there. In 1991, he signed a contract with Sony Music that was considered the biggest. In the history of that time, the total amount was $65 million. The deal included a $5 million advance for each album and an additional $1 million bonus every time an album reached 5 million sales. At the same time, Michael also entered the world of endorsements. In 1983, he signed a $5 million contract with Pepsi, which was a huge amount at that time. The deal included a series of commercials and sponsorship for the Jackson's Victory Tour. As a result, Pepsi's market share soared by 8%. It's proof that anything Michael touches turns to gold. And as he continues to become a legend, his financial power also grows stronger. In 1995, Michael merged his company, Associated Television Music, with Sony Music Publishing, resulting in Sony Associated Television Music Publishing, a giant company that holds more than 250,000 songs. This includes songs by Elvis Presley, Bob Dylan, and even Taylor Swift. At the time of his death in 2009, his net worth was estimated to reach $500 million. This made him one of the richest musicians in the world. But more than the money, Michael left behind a legacy of brilliance and strategy. He proved that being the king of pop is not just about music. It's also about thinking beyond the ordinary. While others earned money by singing, Michael Jackson earned money by owning the music itself. Surpassing the stage, the challenges of change. As Michael Jackson rose to the highest level of fame, personal challenges also began to arrive that tested his strength and character. In the mid-1980s, the public noticed significant changes in his appearance, especially in the color of his skin. Because of this, rumors spread that he was intentionally whitening his skin to look white. But the truth is, Michael was suffering from an illness. He had vitiligo, a condition that causes the loss of the skin's natural color, and lupus, an autoimmune disease that destroys the body's cells. To even out the color of his skin on camera, he used makeup and skin cream, a decision that later became the subject of endless judgment. Even though he was laughed at and criticized, he didn't let it stop him. In 1985, he collaborated with Lionel Richie to write the song "We Are the World," a charity song that raised over $63 million for the hungry in Africa. The song featured big names like Stevie Wonder, Paul Simon, and Tina Turner, a historic moment of unity in music. In the same year, the Victory Tour also began with his brothers, earning $75 million, a new record in ticket sales and attendance. At the same time, he never stopped helping others. Donations here, help there. From the United Negro College Fund to the Make-A-Wish Foundation, Michael became an inspiration in using fame for good. But as he continued to succeed, the media's judgment grew even stronger. While he was changing the sound of modern music, people focused more on his nose, skin, and unusual behavior. In 1987, he released the album Bad, which had 5 number-1 hits and sold over 35 million copies worldwide. But instead of praising his talent, the media focused more on his appearance. Despite all of this, he didn't stop creating. For Michael, music was his anchor, the only way to escape the noise of the world. While many doubted him, he showed that despite the pain, gossip, and intrigue, a true star continues to shine. Fame's cost, making art in the spotlight. While whispers, gossip, and controversy continued to swirl around Michael Jackson, one thing remained clear: his art never faded. Even as he was consumed by headlines about his face, behavior, and personal life, he never stopped creating. Instead, he pushed the boundaries of music, film, and performance art even further. In 1986, he collaborated with 2 film giants, George Lucas and Francis Ford Coppola, for a unique project called Captain EO. It was a 17-minute 3D film that combined music, dance, and special effects that were extremely advanced for its time. It was shown at Disney theme parks. And even though it cost over $30 million, equivalent to more than $70 million today, it became a huge success. It's evidence of Michael's unparalleled influence, proof that he could combine film, music, and technology into a single masterpiece. While his personal life became the center of discussion, Michael remained busy in the studio. In 1987, 5 years after Thriller, he released Bad, an album that showcased a bolder and more aggressive sound. Here, he showcased the songs Smooth Criminal and Dirty Diana, both of which tackled themes not usually explored by pop artists: power, greed, and sexual politics. With every song and music video, he revealed a new face of pop culture. With the help of directors like Martin Scorsese, the short films that accompanied the album became mini masterpieces. These weren't just music videos. They were a combination of film, theater, and a revolution in visual storytelling. But beyond the songs and dances, what Michael truly left behind was inspiration. His moves, voice, and style became the blueprint of modern pop music. Many artists from hip-hop to K-pop look up to him as a guide and inspiration. He also broke down color barriers in the industry. Through his talent, he proved that music doesn't have to be white or black, it's universal. With every move of his feet, with every note of his voice, he showed that art can unite the whole world. But as his success grew, the exhaustion and pressure became even deeper. The media did not spare him. Every move, every action, every word was scrutinized, twisted, and turned into news. But despite all that, he remained standing, not just as an actor, but as a symbol of dedication in art, someone who keeps creating despite criticism from the world. And on every stage he steps on, he reminds everyone, a person's fame can be destroyed, but a true artist will never let himself be defeated by the light. The Thriller era, at the height of the 80s, Michael Jackson reached the peak of success. In 1987, he released one of the most highly anticipated albums in the history of music. Bad, the follow-up to Thriller, solidified his throne as the king of pop. As expected, he didn't disappoint. Bad became a global phenomenon. 5 songs from this album simultaneously entered the Billboard Hot 100 at number 1. Including I Just Can't Stop Loving You Bad and Man in the Mirror. In total, more than 35 million copies were sold worldwide. And this further established that Michael was not just a performer, he was a revolutionary in music. To support the album, Michael launched his first solo world tour, the Bad World Tour. It lasted for 16 months. There were 123 concerts in 15 countries. And it earned over $125 million. The highest earnings in history for a solo artist at that time. Every performance was like a movie, choreographed to perfection, full of lights, fire, and emotion. With every moonwalk and high note, it was as if Michael was showing that he was one of a kind. In 1988, he released his autobiography, Moonwalk, which he wrote himself. Here, the public first caught a glimpse behind his mask, how he started, the hardships he went through, under his father's hand and the intense discipline that pushed him toward success. Within the first year, over 500,000 copies were sold right away. This was clear proof that the world was eager not only for his music, but also for the story of his life. In the same year, Michael bought a vast piece of land in Santa Barbara County, California. The famous Neverland Valley Ranch. It had 2,700 acres. It had an amusement park, a zoo, and its own movie theater. For Michael, this was his paradise, a place where he could be a child again, far from the noise of cameras and headlines. But for others, it became a symbol of his unusual personality and fascination with the magical world of childhood. Despite his success, he was not content. In 1989, he signed a record-breaking $65 million contract with Sony Music. It was the largest for a recording artist at that time. This included a $5 million advance for each album and a $1 million bonus for every album that sold over 5 million copies. By the end of the decade, Michael was on top of the world. He changed music, the way music videos were made, and even the concept of a superstar. But as the spotlight grew brighter, the shadows in his life also deepened. The constant pressure and exhaustion, judgment from the media gradually built up like waves that would eventually turn against him. But at this time, there was no doubt. Michael Jackson was not just a performer. He redefined pop culture and made it impossible to be ordinary in the world of music. Double life, the king of pop's secret world. As Michael Jackson climbed even higher to the peak of fame, his personal life became even more chaotic and mysterious. In 1994, the news shocked the whole world. Michael married Lisa Marie Presley, the daughter of the rock and roll legend Elvis Presley. It was a wedding that surprised everyone. Some were happy, but many were doubtful. Many said that it was just a publicity stunt. Meanwhile, others questioned whether the love between the two was real or if it was just a way to change the singer's image after all the controversies. But Michael was undeterred. Despite the doubts of the media and the public, he continued his career in meaningful projects. In 1995, he released one of his most ambitious projects. The album was History, Past, Present, and Future Book 1. It was a double disc set combined his classic hits and new songs. The first single, Scream, a duet with his sister Janet Jackson, was a bold response against the media. It showed Michael's anger and statements about the continuous judgment and false news thrown at him. And that's not all. The album's music videos, such as Scream and Earth Song, were dubbed mini-movies for their large-scale production. Earth Song is a powerful song. It's about the destruction of nature and animal abuse, which reached #1 in many countries and highlighted issues that are often avoided by the music industry. But behind the awards, Michael's world started to fall apart. After 2 years together, he and Lisa Marie Presley separated in 1996. Rumors came out about misunderstandings and family plans that didn't push through. In the same year, he got married again to a nurse named Debbie Rowe, whom he met at the dermatologist who was treating him. Together, they had 2 children, Prince and Paris Jackson. But after 3 years, they also separated in 1999. While he continued to be a father, performer, and philanthropist, his physical appearance gradually became a mystery. Michael became thinner, his skin became lighter, and the shape of his face changed over the years. Because of this, he became a favorite topic of tabloids that published speculations about surgeries, medications, and even his mental health. Many people said that he was allegedly removing his black identity, while others said that it was just the result of his vitiligo and the insecurities he carried from his childhood. Whatever the truth is, the public could really feel that the pressure of being the king of pop came with a price, and that was the gradual loss of his private self. Despite the storms, Michael still couldn't stop creating. In 1997, he released Blood on the Dance Floor, History in the Mix, a remix album full of electronic and dance influences. Its title track resonated around the world. It proved that even in the midst of controversies, he could still create music that stands out. As the end of the 20th century approached, he remained one of the most well-known people on the planet, loved by millions, but always scrutinized under the media's microscope. He was a legend torn between 2 worlds, the pop star everyone saw, and the private soul who longed to escape the spotlight. Fame's cost, justice's fight. At the height of Michael Jackson's popularity, it wasn't just successes that came into his life. This also included some of the biggest challenges an artist could ever face. As he reached the peak of success, cases, controversies, and intrigues that would test his name and character gradually increased. In 1993, a 13-year-old boy named Jordan Chandler accused Michael of abuse, a news story that shook not only America, but the whole world. It quickly spread through newspapers, television, and radio and became one of the biggest scandals in the history of music. Michael insisted that he was innocent, but to avoid a lengthy trial and greater damage to his career, he agreed to an out-of-court settlement. $22 million was paid to the Chandler family. For some, this was a sign of guilt, but for others, it was just a way to avoid bigger trouble. This is where the image of the king of pop began to crumble in the eyes of some. The once perfect music idol is now being followed by tabloids and targeted by opportunists. Even though he continued to donate to children and those in need through the Heal the World Foundation, it was not enough to stop the rumors and accusations against him. When the new millennium came, his situation became even more difficult. His debts grew because of his extravagant lifestyle and the high cost of maintaining Neverland Ranch. The cases against him also increased, including those from former business partners. But despite this, he did not stop helping. He donated millions of dollars to hospitals, orphanages, and charity projects around the world. His character faced another test in 2005. He got involved in another case related to abuse, but this time he went through a full trial. After a long court battle, he was acquitted of all charges. But even though he won in court, the wound to his reputation remained. The people who once looked up to him were divided. Some still believed in him, while others completely turned their backs on him. But behind all of this, he continues to fight, not just for his name, but for the truth and for the art that he loved. In a world full of fame, money, and power, Michael Jackson became a living reminder that success comes with a price. And in his case, the price of fame was the very peace of his life. After his death, a strange rumor began to spread. They say that Michael Jackson secretly converted to Islam before he died. The rumors started with alleged signs and stories in the tabloids. They say there are photos of him wearing traditional Muslim clothing. There are reports that he was studying Islamic teachings. And there are whispers that he even changed his name to Mikhail. As the news spread, the speculations also increased. Some even said they saw him with well-known Muslims like Cat Stevens, who is now known as Yusuf Islam. And they said this was what influenced him. Others said he was affected by the difficult times he was going through. They said he wanted to change his life by adopting a new faith. But his own family quickly denied this. According to Jermaine Jackson, who himself converted to Islam in 1989, Michael never recited the Shahada, the declaration of faith proving someone is a Muslim. Even other family members said that although Michael had great respect for different religions, he remained a Christian until his last day. However, the speculation still did not stop. In 2010, Michael's former bodyguard, Matt Fidesz, appeared in an interview, and he said that the singer really did convert in 2008. However, many doubted Fidesz's credibility, especially when he came out with other stories that seemed exaggerated and had no solid evidence. Just like many aspects of Michael Jackson's life, the truth remained a mystery. Some believe it's a symbol of people's endless search for the secret behind his image. The idea that even in death he remains a mystery. Others believe that this is just proof that Michael is a person with deep faith and respect for all religions. But he never turned his back on his roots. Until now, the question remains open. Is this just a fabrication of the media or a secret that was kept until his burial? One thing is certain, like his music, even his spirit continues to be debated, talked about, and admired all over the world.